What's going on, America? This is Kevin from Kevin's Corner, and I'm on the road again, traveling. But nonetheless, I did have a chance to listen to the news, and I heard about some bomb threats. Some bomb threats for, I guess, towards Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, James Brennan, Maxine Waters, CNN. CNN actually got thrown in there. And, I started doing a little deductive reasoning. And I'm probably going to say something that might get me in trouble with the liberal news and, critics. But I'm not about being just politically correct. I'm about using some deductive reasoning skills. So this could be the most politically incorrect viewpoint of this whole situation ever. But I don't care. That's why we have freedom of speech. Anyway, so let me start off by saying this. If someone did send these bombs to all of these prominent Democrats' places of residence, including George Soros as well, that is wrong. And I don't care if the person is on the right, on the left, or whatever. That's when politics and your approach towards politics just goes too far. I mean, whoever did it, it just goes too far. But I do think that whoever did it, it wasn't done by anybody on the right. Now, I'm going to tell you why. Just work with me, okay? This is just me thinking out loud, okay? Because, see, the first thing you never want to do is just immediately assume that whoever the evidence appears to be pointing to, that's who's behind it. Because perhaps, just thinking out loud, maybe that's what they want you to do. So, for example, if a person has a history of robbing banks, and I want to rob a bank, I could easily make it seem like this person robbed the bank because he'd be the most likely suspect, okay? So you never want to jump to conclusions immediately and just say, well, if all of these people are Democrats, then it had to be from either a Republican or conservative, and let's go and say, let's check all these conservatives and see if any of them fit the profile. Now, the reason I say that, you got to kind of think cynical. You got to kind of think like the villain. Meaning, if I wanted to change a narrative, if I wanted to get the heat off of me, it's called misdirection. Magicians do it all the time. Misdirection. They want you looking at one thing so you don't see the other thing. Perfect example, when I was in college, a guy took out a handkerchief. He had no watch on, short sleeves, showed me the handkerchief, took it, laid it on top of his hand. He took his thumb, stuffed the handkerchief down into his thumb, and then said, show me both hands. I'm looking at his hands like, what the heck? Then he takes his hands like this. He pulls the handkerchief back out, puts his hand in his pocket, and I'm looking at the handkerchief. I'm upset because I'm going, where in the heck did that handkerchief go? I know there's no such thing as magic, but I just can't believe that my eyes are fooling me. I saw the handkerchief disappear. And I missed the obvious misdirection. He finally told me what he did. He had a fake thumb that matched the color of his skin. I didn't see that thumb. He would start off with the thumb down inside of his hand. Take the handkerchief, lay it over his hand, stuff the handkerchief down into the thumb, the fake thumb. When he showed me, I couldn't tell that the thumb was just a little longer because I'm looking for the handkerchief. And he's flipping his hands back and forth like this. I don't see no handkerchief. Then he go like this. He pulls the handkerchief, the thumb off while pulling the handkerchief out. I'm looking at the handkerchief. He puts the thumb right into his pocket, and I thought he made the handkerchief disappear, but really he didn't. So we never want to become naive when it comes to saying, hold up, let's not jump towards what appears to be the obvious. Perfect example. When multiple women came out about Donald Trump, my suspicions jumped when I said, okay, we're in the middle of election, it's getting close to debate time, and all of a sudden, at once, it appears to be a coordinated effort for all of these random women to just come out at once. How did they coordinate that? How did they all get on the same wavelength and say, we better go ahead and all come out at the same time? That made me get a little suspicious. Brett Kavanaugh, 2 days before they're supposed to vote, woman comes out, says what she says. Then, of course, another one, then another one. Now, it's easy to say, well, all the evidence points towards him being guilty, or because it's a whole bunch of women. Donald Trump must have been guilty. Or somebody wanted Donald Trump to appear guilty. Ever thought about that? So with this, one, most of the time, people who are winning don't feel the need. And this is why I say it didn't, if it happened, it didn't come from somebody on the right. We feel good. Conservatives right now in America is happy with our president. We feel good about the victories. We're proud of our president. We're proud to be conservative. And we're walking around having a good time. We even kind of chuckle sometimes when we laugh at liberal tears. But one thing we're not doing is saying we feel like we're victims to the point where we got to fight back to this degree and mess it up for the narrative that's been building against the left. Okay? Somebody on the right, if they're winning, you're usually not saying, you know what we're going to do? Go to any means necessary. And now that the momentum is showing and exposing that the violence is coming from the left and that all the rhetoric is coming from the left, let me go ahead and change that narrative, even though it's not necessary because the momentum is on our side. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and change that narrative by sending out a coordinated attack, meaning sending out bombs to every person that Donald Trump has criticized. Now, I'm just thinking out loud. If I was someone who said, crap, the heat is on us, we've been exposed, the narrative towards us has been building for like the last month. Trump is banging us when it comes down to violent mobs, attacks, things like that, negative rhetoric that encourages people to become violent, actual physical evidence that we can see and hear being perpetrated by people on the left and encouraged by left-wing politicians. So coming into the elections, we might need to change that narrative. We might need to invoke a little sympathy upon our party and say, we're not the only one dishing it out. See, the other side is just as radical as we are, and they're even going further, and they're attacking us and potentially trying to blow us up. Now, I'm thinking out loud. If I want, say, the narrative to be that Donald Trump is a white nationalist and a racist, I could send a lot of protesters into his rallies that people don't know I'm sending, and then when they start trouble and people respond, now I can say, it's those guys over there. See how crazy and radical they are. I could, if I wanted to make it appear that right-wing people are violent, I could say, throw a pipe bomb in a church, conservative, a liberal church, or I could do something like that to make it appear that there's violence and attacks from people on the right when it comes down to the left. But normally, we have not seen people on the right who normally go about their business. They might say, lock her up. They might say CNN sucks, but that's usually at a rally. We don't walk around creating big mobs saying lock her up. We don't show up at Hillary's front door and say, lock her up. We don't show up at Obama's front gate and protest. We don't do those things normally. And usually when you are winning, like I said, the champ decides who he wants to fight or not. You don't go up to the champ when he got the belt and he feeling good and you talking about, come on out here, Mike Tyson. Come on out here, Ali. Let's scrap. No, I don't have to fight you because I'm winning. I'm the champ. The momentum's on my side. I'll pick and choose when I fight you. But I kind of find it odd that while we're winning and the momentum is building on the right and people are getting excited because they're looking at these angry mobs and looking at how they have been becoming violent and threatening people on the right, it would behoove someone. I'm just thinking out loud. You got to think like somebody devious. If you're a good investigator, you never just get one-track minded and say, no way. Because see, that's what they want you to think. No way would somebody go to this extreme to do something like this just to change the narrative or balance the narrative. Like, hey, both sides are just as crazy and radical. So if you exclude the possibility of this, you might be doing yourself a disservice. So when anytime something is coordinated, meaning somebody does something all at once during a political season and it's on multiple fronts, my antennas always go up. So now you're telling me that whoever this alleged person is who sent these bombs found out all of these addresses and sent them and made sure that they showed up all at the same time today, no delays, no nothing. I mean, I guess they made sure they paid for the extra money to make sure these packets all ended up at the same time, same day. But secondly, if a person's goal and objective was to try to harm some of these prominent politicians, why would you send a pipe bomb through the mail? Because you know by now that their packages are being screened. So it's not an effort to actually hurt them, but it's an effort to potentially change the narrative by saying, whoa, people are trying to hurt Hillary, Obama, and all of these other people who have now become somewhat of the villain to many Americans because of the divisiveness and Hillary talking about there could be no civil unrest and all of these things. So to try, if somebody really wants to hurt them, I don't know if that would be the most effective way, because all of that stuff is going to get stopped and screened and made sure that it never reaches the people, including George Soros and all. I'm sure they don't open their own mail. Okay, so I don't know if that was the smartest route, but if I wanted it to appear that there was an effort to do that, then I would send non-lethal bombs to all of these different people and just leave it at that, knowing that it would be intercepted, but it would still create the perception that there's this coordinated effort to try to harm all of these Democratic politicians. So therefore, what are y'all talking about? All the violence and anger is not coming from the right. Your guys are out sending bombs to CNN and Hillary and Bill and all of that. And now all of a sudden it drums up more excitement on the left for their voters. It gives a great talking point to all the left-wing commentators and all the politicians. You know, especially like Maxine Waters when she says, you know, well, President Trump says I invoke violence. Look at them. They sending bombs to my place. I'm just saying, I'm thinking cynically. I'm saying to myself, let's not quickly say, well, obviously, you know, these are people from the... I don't know if a person from the right, if he was in his right mind or she was in their right mind, would say this is a great way to further our cause and get Trump elected and make sure that we win the House and the Senate. Even though the polls are starting to change and balance out, even though the left have exposed themselves and their tactics, even though Trump has been pounding the fact that the left has been encouraging these angry mobs and violence, even though the momentum shifted, let me do something stupid and reverse the momentum by sending bombs, I guess, to all of these different politicians who is now going to use that as leverage to say, y'all need to come out and vote because look at this. This president, he's teaching nationalism, violence, and hate, and this is why we all got bombs sent to us. Now, if that is, I guess, too politically incorrect to just think in that line of thought, maybe, just have a balance, then so be it, you know. But nonetheless, you have to approach everything soberly, because if you don't, you leave yourself naive and a victim of potential misdirection. You never look at just the obvious, okay? Sometimes you might want to look at the stuff that isn't obvious, or say, whoa, let's not jump to conclusions here, because y'all have changed the narrative completely with this. Nobody's talking about the immigration that's taking place, the legal immigrants coming. Nobody's talking about Pocahontas. Nobody's talking about the angry mobs and harassment from the left. Nobody's doing that now. They're all talking about these bombs that got sent out. So the narrative have kind of been changed in a way. And so I don't put it past politicians during political seasons and things like that. I don't put it past the lengths that some politicians and people in power will go to stay in power, regain power, create perceptions, misdirections, keep the public thinking one way, sway the public, manipulate the public. I don't take it past. I try to think very subjectively. So let me just say it like this before I close. If somebody did this, one, I do not think it was somebody from our side, meaning the right, practical thinking, everyday Americans. If they were, there's somebody who's a radical extremist and ain't thinking straight. Most of the time, we're level-headed and we think well-roundedly, like, how could this hurt the whole squad? How could this just mess up the team if I did this? But secondly, if it was somebody, whether they're from the right or the left, I condemn that, okay? But I also am not going to rule out the potential of somebody doing this to change a narrative, knowing that as far as it's going to go, it's just somebody discovering these items. Not these items actually hurting somebody, just the discovery of them can change the whole narrative. So I'm not going to rule that out. That's all I'm saying. Anyway, think about it. Listening to Kevin and Kevin's Corner. Find me on Facebook. Find me on Twitter. Check me out Wednesday nights, 7:30, live, Kevin's Corner. And check out Extreme Tees, my sponsor. Links in the bottom. If you want to support Kevin and Kevin's Corner, there's a link in the bottom. Do that as well. Now, I have to hit the road. God bless you. Find you next time in Kevin's Corner.